My God! Mom!
No, this can't be happening.
Tell me this isn't real. Tell me I'm dreaming.
What have we done, Ryan? What have we done? Vanessa Okafor stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. The dim light of the motel room cast shadows on her face, making her look older than her 37 years. Heavy makeup masked the exhaustion in her eyes, but no amount of foundation could cover the emptiness she felt inside. She adjusted the strap of her red silk dress, straightened her posture, and took a deep breath. It was just another night. Another man. Another lie. Outside, the city of Lagos buzzed with life. Horns blared, streetlights flickered, and people moved like ghosts in the night. Vanessa stepped into the waiting car, flashing a fake smile at the older man behind the wheel. He reeked of cheap cologne and alcohol, but she didn't flinch. She had learned long ago to ignore the details. Her job wasn't to feel, it was to survive. Back at home, her 19-year-old son, Ryan, lay stretched out on a king-sized bed, scrolling through his phone. A bottle of expensive whiskey sat half-empty beside him. The air conditioning hummed softly, drowning out the noise of the world outside. His mother had provided him with everything: money, luxury, the latest gadgets, but never the one thing he needed most: guidance. Ryan smirked as another notification popped up on his phone. A new girl. Another conquest. He enjoyed the thrill of the chase, the power of control. His friends worshipped him for it. He had perfected the art of seduction just like his mother, though he didn't know the full extent of her deception. Vanessa returned home just before dawn, slipping into the house like a thief. She checked Ryan's room and found him fast asleep, his phone still glowing in his hand. She sighed and pulled the blanket over him. No matter how broken she was, he was still her son, and she would do anything to protect him. But deep down, she feared it was already too late. Vanessa Okafor had mastered the art of living two lives. By day, she was the respected woman in the neighborhood, the single mother who had worked hard to provide a luxurious life for her son. She walked with confidence, dressed in elegant but modest outfits, and carried herself like a woman who had everything under control. Her neighbors admired her, and other women envied her. They often whispered about how she never seemed to struggle, how money never seemed to be a problem. Some said she had investments, others believed she had wealthy admirers. No one knew the truth. By night, Vanessa became someone else. She wore revealing dresses, high heels that clicked against polished floors, and makeup that made her look like a different person. Her world was filled with dimly lit hotel rooms, expensive wines, and men who never bothered to ask about her past. They only wanted what she could offer, and she gave it willingly, for a price. She told herself it was survival, that she wasn't like the others. She was in control. She made the rules. But deep down, she knew that was a lie. Her son Ryan had no idea who she really was. He saw the luxury, the overflowing cash, the latest gadgets she bought him, and assumed his mother was just a successful businesswoman. She never spoke about his father, and he never asked. He didn't care where the money came from as long as it kept coming. To him, life was simple. Money meant power, and power meant control. He had learned that from her, even if she never meant to teach him that lesson. Ryan lived in excess. He wore designer clothes, drank expensive liquor, and partied like life had no consequences. His mother never stopped him, never set rules, never questioned where he spent his nights. She believed that as long as she provided everything he needed, he wouldn't have to struggle like she did. But in doing so, she had created a monster. Ryan had his own secrets. He and his friends played dangerous games, seducing women, recording their moments in secret, and using those videos to control them. He saw it as harmless fun, a way to keep the upper hand. He had never been caught, never been questioned. He thought he was invincible. One evening, Vanessa sat on the balcony of their penthouse, sipping a glass of wine as the sun set over Lagos. She watched the city below, the people moving, the lights flickering. A part of her wanted to escape this life, to find a way out before it was too late. But the money was good, the lifestyle was addicting, and the thought of starting over scared her more than anything. In another room, Ryan was texting a girl he had just met online, arranging to meet her. He had no idea that the decision he was making would be the beginning of his worst nightmare. Ryan Okafor lived for the thrill. To him, life was a game, and he was always in control. He had everything a 19-year-old could want: money, power, and women who fell at his feet. He never asked where the money came from, and his mother never explained. As long as the cash kept flowing, he didn't care. In his world, rules didn't apply. His favorite pastime was seduction. He and his friends had turned it into a sport, finding women online, luring them in with charm, and then recording their encounters without their knowledge. The videos were trophies, proof of their power. If a girl ever refused to see him again, he had leverage. A single threat to leak the footage was enough to bring her back. He never thought twice about the damage he caused. To him, it was just fun. One night, while scrolling through his phone, Ryan came across a new profile. The girl was different. No selfies, no flashy pictures, just mysterious captions and cryptic messages. She was bold, teasing him in ways most girls didn't. He liked the chase. He sent a message, and she replied instantly. They talked for hours, and she matched his energy. She was playful, confident, and completely in control. Unlike the others, she refused video calls. She wouldn't even send a voice note. She kept him guessing, and that made him want her even more. When he asked to meet, she agreed, but with one condition: total darkness. No lights, no distractions, just them. Ryan found it strange, but he was too intrigued to say no. The night of the party arrived. Loud music, flashing lights, and endless bottles of alcohol filled the air. Ryan had been drinking, his head light with excitement. When she arrived, he was already intoxicated. She whispered in his ear, her voice soft but commanding. They slipped away from the crowd into a private room where the only light came from the street lamps outside. She reminded him of the rule: no lights, just feeling. He laughed but agreed, thinking it was part of the mystery. The room went dark. Their movements were slow at first, hesitant, but soon the alcohol took over. It was just another night, another game. Ryan had no idea that this was the night his life would change forever. A sharp beam of sunlight crept through the curtains, casting a dull glow over the room. The air was thick with the scent of alcohol, sweat, and regret. Ryan groaned as he turned over, his head pounding from the night before. His body ached, but he smirked. Another successful conquest. Another night of pleasure and control. He stretched lazily, reaching out to pull the woman beside him closer. But instead of soft skin, his fingers met something familiar. Too familiar. A faint perfume lingered in the air, one he had known his whole life. His stomach twisted, but he brushed the thought aside. It was just the hangover messing with him. As the morning light filled the room, Ryan finally opened his eyes. He turned his head toward the woman lying next to him. The moment his gaze landed on her face, the world stopped. His breath caught in his throat. His heart pounded so violently it felt like his chest would burst. His vision blurred, his entire body frozen in horror. Lying beside him, staring back with the same expression of pure terror, was his mother. Vanessa let out a strangled gasp and scrambled away from him, clutching the sheets to her chest. Ryan shot up from the bed, stumbling backward as if he had seen a ghost. His head spun, his body trembling. His mind refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. "No, no, no, no," Vanessa whispered, her voice barely audible. She shook her head violently, her hands gripping her hair as if trying to tear the nightmare away. Her body shook uncontrollably, her breaths coming out in short, sharp gasps. Ryan couldn't move. His legs felt like lead, his entire world crumbling around him. He wanted to wake up. He wanted this to be a sick, twisted dream. But it wasn't. It was real. His mother's face was twisted in agony, her eyes wide with disbelief and disgust. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but no words came out. She was just as lost as he was. The room felt smaller, suffocating. The walls seemed to close in on them, trapping them in this unbearable reality. Silence stretched between them, heavier than anything they had ever known. There were no excuses, no explanations, no way to undo what had just happened. Vanessa finally found her voice, but it was barely above a whisper. "What have we done?" Ryan's stomach churned. He wanted to scream, to break something, to run far away from this moment. His hands shook as he grabbed his clothes, yanking them on with desperate, clumsy movements. Vanessa did the same, avoiding his eyes, her breath hitching with every second that passed. Neither of them spoke again. There was nothing left to say. But as Ryan reached for his phone, dread gripped him once more. His habit, the one he thought was harmless, the one he had done so many times before, had betrayed him. The video had already been sent. Ryan's fingers trembled as he grabbed his phone, his heart pounding so loudly it drowned out every other sound. He tapped the screen with frantic desperation, hoping, praying that it wasn't too late. But the moment he opened the group chat, his worst fear became reality. The video was already there, a short clip, blurry, dark, but enough to destroy them both. Messages flooded in. "Madu! Ryan, who be this new babe? Bro, this one tight die. Drop full tape, make we see well." Laughter. Thumbs up emojis. His friends had no idea what they were looking at. They thought it was just another conquest, another victim to humiliate. Vanessa saw the panic in Ryan's face and snatched the phone from his hand. The second her eyes landed on the screen, she let out a strangled gasp. Her breath came in short, shallow bursts. Her world blurred, her hands shaking violently. Ryan grabbed the phone back and started deleting the video, removing it from the chat, blocking his friends, doing anything to erase what had just happened. But it was useless. The internet had already claimed it. A new notification popped up. Forwarded. His stomach twisted. Then another. Forwarded. Forwarded. It was spreading. Vanessa let out a guttural cry, collapsing onto the bed, clutching her chest as if the air had been stolen from her lungs. Her worst nightmare, her darkest secret, her greatest shame, was about to be known to the world. Ryan's phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again, and again. Then Vanessa's phone started buzzing too. Then the house phone. A text message flashed across the screen. "Ryan, what the hell is this?" It was Tunda, his closest friend, his partner in crime. Ryan hesitated, then picked up. "Bro, delete the video. Now." His voice cracked. He was losing control. Tunda's laughter echoed through the speaker. "Too late, man. It's everywhere." Ryan's blood ran cold. A second later, a news alert popped up on the screen. Leaked scandal rocks Lagos. Viral video sparks outrage. Then another. Shocking revelation. Prominent businesswoman and son caught in disturbing footage. Ryan's breath hitched. Vanessa's name was in the headlines. His name. Their faces. Their secret was no longer theirs. His mother clutched her head, rocking back and forth, whispering, "No, no, this can't be happening." Then came the banging, loud, aggressive. The front door shook under the force. "Open up! Lagos State Police!" Vanessa's head snapped up. Ryan felt like he was drowning. The nightmare wasn't over, it was just beginning. Vanessa grabbed Ryan's wrist, yanking him off the bed. There was no time to think, no time to process. The banging at the door grew louder, more violent. The walls of their luxurious penthouse, once a symbol of comfort and success, now felt like a prison closing in on them. "Move!" she hissed, shoving him toward the back exit. Her heart pounded against her ribs, her breath shallow. She had spent years controlling her life, keeping her secrets buried, staying ahead of the game. But now everything was crashing down in seconds. Ryan was frozen, his body stiff with shock. His mind was still stuck on the image of his phone screen, the endless flood of messages, the news headlines, the voices outside calling for them. He had never truly been afraid before, never thought consequences would reach him. But this was real. Too real. Vanessa grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, stuffing in cash, passports, anything that would get them out. She knew how this worked. She had seen it happen to others, women who got caught, who had no escape plan. But she had one. She had always been prepared for the worst. She just never thought it would be this. The door burst open, heavy boots, shouts, flashlights cutting through the darkness. "Vanessa Okafor! Ryan Okafor! You are under arrest for—" They were already gone. They ran through the service hallway, Vanessa leading the way like a woman who had done this before. Ryan's chest burned, his legs unsteady, but he forced himself to keep moving. The cold Lagos night air hit them as they slipped out the back entrance and into the streets. A car screeched around the corner. Vanessa yanked open the door, shoving Ryan inside before jumping in after him. The driver, a man she barely trusted but had no choice, sped off without a word. Ryan stared out the window as the city blurred past. His life, the life he had always taken for granted, was gone. His friends would betray him. His name would be cursed. His mother, once the untouchable queen of his world, was now just another fugitive. He turned to her. "What do we do now?" Vanessa's eyes were cold, unreadable. "We disappear." And just like that, they were ghosts. The motel room was dark, the air thick with the stench of sweat and stale cigarettes. Vanessa sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers gripping the sheets as she stared at the wall. Her once flawless nails were chipped, her hair a tangled mess. Just days ago she was untouchable, wealthy, powerful, and in control. Now she was nothing but a fugitive, hiding like a rat in the shadows. Ryan sat across from her, his head buried in his hands. The glow of his phone screen was the only light in the room. He had turned it on and off 100 times, each time hoping the nightmare had ended, but it hadn't. The messages were still there, the videos, the news. His name was being dragged through the mud, his face plastered across every blog and news outlet. Disgusting. Shameful. A mother and son. How could this happen? His fingers clenched into fists. He had ruined his life. He had ruined her life. And for what? A stupid game? A moment of control? He thought he was untouchable. He thought he could do whatever he wanted without consequence. But now he had lost everything. Vanessa finally spoke, her voice hollow. "We can't stay here long." Ryan lifted his head, his eyes red and distant. "Where do we go?" She shook her head. She had spent years outsmarting men, using them, controlling her own fate. But this? There was no escape. No amount of money could make this go away. They weren't just criminals. They were a scandal. A disgrace. The whole country wanted their heads. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had failed. Not just as a mother, but as a person. She had lived a life of lies, thinking she was protecting Ryan, but all she had done was lead him down the same path of destruction. A knock at the door made them both jump. Vanessa's breath hitched. Ryan's fingers hovered over his phone, ready to check if the police had found them. But it wasn't the police. It was something worse. A past they had both tried to bury. Vanessa's hands trembled as she reached for the door, her pulse hammering in her ears. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Ryan sat frozen on the bed, his breath shallow, his entire body tense. He had never known fear like this before, raw, paralyzing, inescapable. She cracked the door open just enough to see who it was. The sight made her heart drop. Tunda. Ryan's so-called best friend, the same one who had laughed when the video leaked, the same one who had helped spread it. His face was grim now, no trace of amusement left. "Let me in," he whispered, his eyes darting nervously down the hallway. Vanessa hesitated, but Ryan was already on his feet, his anger boiling over. "What the hell do you want?" His voice was low, dangerous. Tundi stepped inside, locking the door behind him. "You don't have time to be angry," he muttered. "The police aren't the only ones looking for you." Vanessa narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean?" Tunda exhaled sharply. "The video? It's not just a scandal. People are furious. The government wants you both arrested, but there are others who..." He hesitated. "There are people who want to make an example out of you." Ryan's stomach twisted. He thought he had seen the worst of it, but this was something else. This wasn't just about humiliation anymore. This was about survival. Vanessa straightened, her voice firm despite the fear creeping into her. The waves crashed violently against the shore, the salty air thick with the scent of rain. Vanessa stood at the edge of the deserted beach, her hoodie pulled low over her face, her body stiff against the cold wind. Ryan sat a few feet away, staring at the endless ocean, his once carefree expression replaced by something hollow. They had escaped Lagos, but not without consequences. The scandal had ruined them. Their names were forever tainted, their faces recognized everywhere. They had lost their home, their money, their so-called friends. They no longer existed, not as Vanessa Okafor, the woman who once controlled her world, or Ryan Okafor, the boy who thought he was untouchable. Now they were ghosts. Ryan clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. He had played with power, with people's lives, never thinking the game would turn on him. But the price had been too high. He had lost his dignity, his sense of self. He had lost everything. Vanessa exhaled slowly, her eyes distant. For years she had thought money could fix anything. That shielding Ryan from her pain was enough. But in the end, she had led him straight into destruction. She had been his first example and she had failed him. The past could never be erased. The shame would never fully fade. But as they stood on the edge of a life they no longer recognized, there was only one thing left to do: survive. Vanessa turned to Ryan, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "We start over." Ryan didn't respond right away, but after a long moment he gave a small, broken nod. There was no redemption, only survival. To be continued. If you were in this situation, what would you do? Would you disown your own mum or fix things with her? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss part 2 of this story.